Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritually Bougie Astrology, and we're going to take a look at the astrological transits of June 17th to June 23rd. Happy Father's Day, everybody. Just kind of starting off with that. Now, before we do any type of recap or look ahead, I want to do a quick little reminder for everybody. For Gemini season, I'm doing BOGO specials on my readings for all of my existing clients. Existing. We know each other. I got your chart. We've talked. We've it. I've done stuff with you before, for you before, however you want me to word that. If you are booking a reading with me in the month of June as a special for Gemini season, because Gemini season is my season, you automatically get a coupon towards another reading. And this can go one of two ways. It can either be one towards your next reading that you want to use in the future, or it can be one that you gift to another person. And I've had people go both ways on this. I've had some people like, oh, yeah, I want to give this to my sister. I want to give this to my mom, my best friend, my dad. Again, happy Father's Day, guys. I have a lot of male clients, so happy Father's Day. Um, that type of reading, or you just save it for yourself, knowing that next time you need an emergency session or something like that, you can just message me and it's already taken care of. Now, please note, I keep saying existing clients. Why do I say that? Because if you are a new client, you don't pay full price. Your first session is heavily discounted. You book an hour-long one-on-one with me, it's $35. If you book a 90-minute one-on-one with me, it is $50. I'm not going to do a discount on top of a discount. I'm just reminding everybody, the existing client special is the BOGO. If you want to book your very first session with me, they're already discounted. It's just a matter of like when we get it booked for you. And that's something that I like continuously run. It's always going to be there. Moving along. I have said that we're in a 6-week period of transition. And really, when I calculated it, it's closer to 7 weeks. I hate to say that. I'm not trying to add an extra week, but in all fairness, I am technically. I just didn't do my math right. The first 2 weeks of June, which we are just now rounding out of, in one way, we were expanding the new normal that got set in May. We're taking things to the next level. We're meeting more people. We're taking on more information. We're learning things. We're transitioning. We're doing something different. We were taking things up a notch. But I also said over the last 2 weeks that there would be something or someone new that would come through. For a lot of people, that new was a disruptive energy, disrupted things, and a lot of that disruptive was tied to the Mars Pluto square, or those other squares between the Sun, Venus, and Mercury, not in that order, with Saturn. And the tests, the energy, the debut, the reveal, the presentation, that energy that has been there, for a lot of people, it has made us pump the brakes and how we support someone and how we see someone and how we feel about someone. Something has been revealed. Now, for some people, it's fine. I'm too old for this shit. I don't want to go over there. I don't want to have hot girl summer. I don't want to wear two-piece bathing suits anymore. Like, I'm going as mundane as possible. I don't want to do that, but you can do it all day long. Baby, wear that bikini. I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you. That makes you feel good. You do you. It's not all about bikinis. But in other ways, the hesitancy, the pumping of the brakes, the little twinges in the spine, they have been deeper. They have been harder. And they are a part of the 7-week transition that I have been talking about. And as we go into this week, we are starting to go into a new development. We are going into new ideas and new information and a new way of doing things. And we're under one impression in many, many ways. And a lot of that came through over the course of the last few days going into Monday. So what I'm talking about now is like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now, if you listen to last week's forecast, whenever I was talking about the week, you can clearly hear me talk about like with the Mars Pluto. Yeah, Mars Pluto. I almost said that backwards. I thought for a second I said Saturn. With Mars Pluto, that was one energy. But then once we transitioned to the later part of the week, we went into a different focus. Mars Pluto was disruptive, chaotic, or pivotal. It was a test. And a lot of that Mars Pluto energy was to trigger actions or reactions of how we change something, of how we move past something, of how we move forward, of how we're going to get over something. And for a lot of people, whatever happened in that Mars Pluto square, which was the most exact on the 11th, but we were feeling it the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, the 13th. We felt it the most through those days. Whatever was going on in those days, that trigger, that reaction, for many people, it made us angry. Our reaction to whatever occurred, the trigger that pulled something out of us, is also a big part of this transition. It is also a big part of what has been recently revealed. It is also a big part of where we are pumping our brakes. Now, I said over the weekend that many people feel like they're having to get things completed, get things done, get things wrapped up, get things prepared, get things packed, get things in a certain spot, because we're going into something new. And there's a lot of newness in our focus, in our direction, in our emotions that is going to come through this week. This does not negate the new normal that we set up through May. This does not negate the buildup of that new energy that came through in parts of June. But remember, June is fast. We got things going on, and our focus is meant to shift. The reason I keep saying these words is because we've been going through the Gemini transits, but as of this week, we start to go into the Cancer transits. And there's a bridge that we have been going over because we've been in Gemini season. Mutable signs are the bridge. They are the signs that carry us from the fixed energy to the next season, to the next idea, to the next topic, to the next arena, to the next place. And we've been feeling ourselves transition and looking at something new. Now, over the weekend, some of you were completing something aesthetic. Again, the plans, getting prepared, getting your bags packed, getting certain things going, because you know you're going somewhere new. You know you have a meeting this week. You know you have a presentation this week. You know you're doing something this week. And as we go into Monday, we get the first element of whatever that new focus is going to be, because we're going to have both Venus and Mercury move into Cancer and then go into a conjunction at 0 degrees. It's the start of a new sign. Later this week, the sun is going to go into Cancer, and that's the start of a new season. Not just a new astrological season. Now, I'm not just talking about that. It's the start of summer. The official start of summer is when the moon goes into Cancer. The sun. Moon goes into Cancer every month. The sun goes into Cancer. I apologize. Over these last 2 weeks, the new arrival, the new disruption, the new chaos, the new filings, the new appointments, the new doctor, the new is transitioning into this. That new appointment is going to lead to new commitments. That new doctor is going to lead to new treatments. The new is transitioning our focus. And we are at the start of a new focus as we go into this week. But we needed the transitional energy of the last few weeks to make us aware of this. Now, some of us, as we transition into something new, we know we're leaving something or someone behind. As we transition into the new, we know we no longer have the support, the care, the love, the money. For some people, it's going to be money of another person. For some of us, that's scary. For others, it's necessary. For some of us, we don't give a shit because we are full steam ahead. Depends on who your time lord is, who your chart ruler is, what their condition is, and what's going on with them right now. But we are transitioning into something new this week. The writing has been on the wall. I've said this before. We have been under one impression. We've been under one notion. But when you take the step back, it's like you connect all the dots from all these previous conversations and all these ways of going, and then you realize, oh, wait, I guess I did see them for who they are. I guess I did see this coming. I guess this was always there. I just didn't realize. And there will be many of us that go into this week, but even the next few weeks of this transitional 7-week period, I need to start saying 7, I apologize, is going to come through because a role is shifting. And this week is where we're going to start to initiate the full elements of a role shifting. Now, if you've listened to me for a while, that Gemini new moon, I said a lot of these things are going to initiate the squares with Saturn, and Saturn is going to start to slow down. But not only that, that the next 2 full moons are going to be in Saturn signs. This week is the first of those. We get the first full moon in Capricorn. And we're going to get it at the very beginning of the sign, at the beginning, the start of a transition, at the start of a change, at the start of something altering with the elder, with an authority figure, in our roles, in our responsibilities, in the people that we respect, around the people that we respect, around the people that we see as an authority figure in their area, in their field. Something is shifting. And that shift is now taking us into new territory and new focus. Some of you know exactly what the new focus is going to be. You know you're starting something this week. You know you have that big presentation. You know you've got something there. And then once you get through this newness, for a moment, we're going to feel melancholic. We're going to feel confused. We're going to feel lied to. We're going to slow down. There's a lot of big transits to this week. Venus and Mercury will move into Cancer. They'll make that conjunction. But right as they do that, the sun will enter its square to Neptune. When the sun hits a square from Neptune, this slows down. We don't connect as hard. We don't move as fast. And some of us, we will get very melancholic. For some of us, we will get very confused. We will feel very depressed. We will see that not everybody is functioning and hitting all the cylinders that they think that they should be hitting. We will hear things that we didn't necessarily know that we wanted to hear or that we needed to hear. We will hear things that we don't want to believe. It might take a few weeks before the belief sets in. That's not going to be easy for a lot of people. It will not be easy to dispel, overcome, comprehend. And it's going to take time as we transition into this new territory. And whatever this new territory is, for many of you, your role will be changing in someone's life. For many of you, the support of another person will be changing in your life. The care that you have had or the care that you have given will be changing. We have the first full moon in Capricorn. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. In about a week and a half, Saturn is going to turn retrograde. Week and a half from that full moon. And then we will have another Capricorn full moon in July. We are transitioning. We are going into a new focus. And many people, they know they're going into something new, but they don't have all of the energy. They don't have all the facts. They have one way of seeing something, one way of thinking, one way of knowing. They were told one version of the truth. They've only seen one side of the situation. They only know one way to build it, one way to do it, one way to work through something. But that way doesn't work. That way isn't true. That way won't continue. And there's a reason why I'm saying, and I've been saying, the more and more some people reveal themselves, the more and more we can feel ourselves pumping the brakes. The more and more you feel in yourself and you showing yourself and you soiling those oats and you letting people know, the more and more people are pumping their brakes on you, because sometimes you're the one showing your ass. Let's be fair. Hello, it is Gemini season. It is my season. I'm aware. I'm aware. Support is changing. Responsibilities are changing. They've been starting this transition since the beginning of the month. They are continuing this transition for the next month from here. And we will feel it. You will know that your role has changed. Your dad's role, your mom's role, your boss's role, something has changed, withdrawn, adapted. The old way of doing something will not remain. And that's going to be a good thing for a lot of people. For others, it's going to be an undoing. Again, kind of comes down to where you're at in these transits, the conditions of your chart rulers, and your time lords. You understand that. You know what I'm talking about, but not everybody does. So feel free to Google some words. We are going to get into the week. So let's get into the calendar, and I'm going to remind everybody. Last week's episode, I said that there are stuff going all the way up into midnight, and that's why this is starting at 12:30 in the morning. There's a lot of energy to Sunday. A lot of Sunday's energy is carrying into Monday. Many of us know we are wrapping up a project. We are getting rid of stuff. We are purging. We are cleaning. We're making space. We're transitioning. We're trying to get prepared. Even if you don't know physically what you're preparing for, like you felt this energy. You did the deep dives of research of what you needed to heal and what you needed to understand, like the little triggers of stuff came through over the weekend to get you prepared for something that's about to arrive, for someone that's about to arrive. We know something new is coming as we get into this week. Now, one of the things that was going on right as we ended Sunday is Neptune's square with Venus. This one exact around 11 p.m. Sunday night. It's still active here. Mercury is working on its conjunction to Venus, but these two will not conjoin in Gemini. They will conjoin in Cancer. So again, we're getting things together. We're getting things in order. We're talking through things. We're having deep levels of conversation. We have one way of seeing things, but that is not all the ways, because Neptune's influence is still heavy here. But Neptune's influence will not remain past the month of June. So please understand, again, transition. A transition is in the midst, and our focus is shifting into something new this week. But we don't all know exactly what that new is at 12:30 at night on the 17th. I'm sorry, 12:30 in the morning, midnight. We don't all know. Be aware of that. Okay. There's a lot of movement to Monday. So many of us, we're going to know that. We're going to feel that. We're going to be dealing with that for a while. So Mercury and Venus also are going through a trine with the moon. We know we're wrapping something up. We know we're talking to somebody for the last time. And there is a lot of emphasis on talk because the moon is in Venus's sign. Both of them are at the 29-degree mark. Mercury is in its own sign coming into this conjunction with Venus. So we know we're preparing something. We know we're wrapping something up. We know we're doing something in one direction. And it's going to be different as we go into the actual daytime of Monday, but a lot of the transits for us here in the States are happening in the overnight hours. So just be prepared for that. If you are having a hard time sleeping, or if your dreams are crazy as hell, Sunday night going into Monday, congratulations. It's a lot. If you can't sleep and your mind is like running 90 miles per hour, this is why. Okay, moving along. What's interesting about the trine with Mercury and Venus with the moon is that Venus and the moon are going to move signs together. So I'm going to bump this an hour, 1:30 in the morning. Venus, woo, newly in Cancer. But look at the moon. The moon will actually move into Scorpio at 1:38. So 8 minutes after where I've got it. I'm going to bump this an hour because you guys know I'm not going to do it by minute. That's annoying. Venus is trine to the moon. We have transitioned into something new. And whatever comes through Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, while the moon is in Scorpio, I feel is going to reflect back to whatever occurred during the Mars-Pluto square. Now, why do I say that? Because the Mars went into Taurus right after the Venus Cazimi. It was disruptive. It was meant to bring new disruption. Chaotic or pivotal, well, however it went for you is fine, but there was disruption there. Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Pluto, and their square is still separating. But if you, whatever we're working through and talking about is about whatever happened last week, not everybody that was affected by that is going to be in the conversations. And that's not just about 2:30 in the morning on Monday. That is about Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, to be absolutely clear. Okay, moving this along. Mercury will hit its exact square with Neptune between 2:39 and 2:49 p.m. So you can see that's going on right here. Neptune, 29 degrees, 52 minutes. Here's Mercury, 29 degrees, 51 minutes, close enough for government work. This is a questioning. This is one set of information. This is one set of plans, one set of rules. This is some fascination that we have. This is some level of preparation, and we have something in our mind that it's going to go a certain way. Some of us are going to be, again, doing different levels of that research, and we need to ask somebody questions and get a different understanding. And once you get that different understanding, it's going to help you in that transitional bridge of where you're going next. Doesn't have to be heavy. If you are having late night conversations with somebody, double check your facts. Google's your friend. You hear something that doesn't sound right, it feels weird in your spine, it feels weird in your gut, take note because you're going to want to ask some questions later. Those questions can literally come through in the next few days, just to be prepared for that. Okay. We're in this energy all evening Sunday. We're feeling it all night. So a lot of whatever is going on is really carrying over from Sunday. And do not be surprised if we are having late nights. Do not be surprised if we're having a hard time sleeping. But also don't be surprised if you're just like thrown in the midst of just wanting to drown in make-believe. Get a great example. Bridgerton's back on Netflix. There's other things that have just come out. Some of us just want to binge into something that's fantasy. That can also be what's going on. Just, I don't want to be in reality, and I just want my mind to be focused on something that's not real. Okay. Moving this along, Mercury is going to enter Cancer at 4:07 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this at 4:30. Here's Mercury now in Cancer. Getting much closer to Venus. The conjunction has been building all through Sunday. It's in Monday. I know we're still in the early morning hours. There's a lot in these overnight transits. And not everybody's going to be dealing with something at 4:30 in the morning. The human effect is it's going to come later for a lot of people. Now, why do I say that? Because of how everything is going to keep going. Now, between 4 and 6 a.m., while Mercury is entering Cancer, the moon is going to square Pluto. We need to talk through, explain the past. We're going to get a version of information. Not all of this is going to happen at 4:30 in the morning. We're going to talk about how something has changed and transformed. We're going to give arrival. The moon is in a very interesting position because it's still in the trine to Mercury and Venus while it's squaring Pluto. So if, like me as a Scorpio rising, this is a very interesting place to be sitting because it's like you can see so many different things. You're going to be getting so many different conversations. You're going to hear so many different stories. And a lot of it is going to be emotional. It's going to have to do with trauma. It's going to have to do with triggers. It's going to have to do with something that we thought we buried deep within that has been brought back to the surface and we feel like we need to talk about. Some of us, it is the old wounds and old traumas that recently got triggered that we need to talk about, that we need to release, that we need to understand, that we need to be prepared for, that we are going to be dealing with, that we are now dealing with in some way. And it is gaining a lot of different understanding. Some of us, we are the one releasing it all, releasing how we feel, allowing something to process. There's a lot of emotional processing once all of these planets move into the water signs. Moon, Scorpio, Mercury, Venus, Cancer, water, water, water. Plus all of them have still been going through that Neptune influence and the Saturn influence in Pisces. So there's a lot of water all of a sudden, a lot of emotions, a lot of how we're feeling, keeping this going because we're not done yet. The Mercury-Venus conjunction is going to go the most exact between 7:26 and 7:58 a.m. Central Standard Time. These two have now moved signs, but they still have some elements of that influence from Neptune. Again, we had one way that we thought something was going to go. We've been clearing something out. We were told one version of events from the weekend. We've been doing one form of study. So as we did the deep dive, the Gemini stuff, as we had to do those deep dives of information. And now that deep dive of information, we want to talk about, we're going to start to talk about what we've learned. The recent events that have been triggered, we're going to tell people what we know. We're going to present something. And this presentation, please understand, I keep saying presentation because Neptune, a lot of times, it can have to do with fantasy and fascination and stuff like that. It can be the imagination. But whatever gets presented information-wise, Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm sticking with these 3 days because the human effect is it's not always going to hit on Monday morning. Whatever news is coming to light, whatever information is presented, whatever is shared, whatever is brought up, for a lot of people, it is going to be some level of information that has changed since the Venus Cazimi, and that's been June 4th and June 6th. We've seen the other side of someone, of something. Something got debuted and now we're talking about it like, oh my God, this is going to be so great. Sometimes it's going to be good. Sometimes it's going to be negative. I like to talk about both. I don't sugarcoat. Mercury and Venus, once we give this information, once we give this presentation, once we give this thing, a lot of this is going to change the perspective and it is going to be a part of the new shift forward. It's the first inkling, the first layer. It's the bottom plate before you cover it with stuff. The first layer. Okay. This can also have to do with cars because it's Mercury. This can also have to do with the physical aesthetic changes because it's Venus. We can be doing follow-ups from those prior dates. You got your BBL, you had some kind of dental thing because Venus rules the mouth. You had something from a few days ago, that doctor scan, that's something. And we get to this day and we're getting some type of news, some type of information. We're getting the next round of something. But this new presents something else. It takes us into something else. It shifts our focus. Okay. Moving along. When we get to the afternoon, this is going to be really interesting to me. And this is going to happen the most between 1 and 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I've got this 2:30. The moon in Scorpio, in Pluto's sign, in Mars' sign. In the overnight hours, the moon made the square to Pluto. In the afternoon hours, the moon is making the opposition to Mars. Venus and Mercury are in conjunct Pluto. When the moon is in this opposition to Mars, it is in conjunct Jupiter. In conjunctions means we're not together. We're not on the same page. We don't see eye to eye. We don't know. A lot of what will get presented, a lot of what will get communicated, a lot of what will come through Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I keep giving all the days, but the transits are the most exact on these days, and I always show the exact transit. We don't initially understand. We don't initially agree with. We don't initially believe. We don't know what we don't know. And a lot of what's starting to come through right here is going to be met with some type of disruptive energy. It's going to be met with some type of argumentative energy. It's going to be met with some type of tension, some type of frustration, and or moon opposite Mars, it's going to be met with a motivation. However, with this Venus-Mercury conjunction still happening at the 0 degrees, this information, this presentation, this newness can be a big part of that motivation. It is a part of the reaction. It is a part of the actions moving forward. It is part of the disruptive energy. And whatever is getting disrupted this is something that has been going on for a long time. It's been seen one way for a long time. We've felt a certain way about something or someone for a long time. And now we're seeing a different side. Now we're getting different information. Now we're getting something new. Is it all happening on Monday? No. We're going to be dealing with this somewhere between Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That's what I keep feeling. Now, after the moon's opposition to Mars, there's no more direct transits to Monday. So I know a lot of this was in the overnight hours, literally from midnight all the way until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The human effect is this can happen at any point. You get the call at 5 p.m. You get the information, you get your appointments booked, you get something first thing in the morning, not at 5 o'clock in the morning. You're getting it at like 8, 9, 10. That's the human effect. Those transits are the most exact in the overnight hours. But a lot of people are going to have a hard time sleeping, or if you do sleep, you're going to have the craziest dreams. And it's like you're going to wake up feeling a whole different mindset. Some people were already feeling that last week, like the first layers of it, the first rounds. And I even had some comments about that and some messages about that. I'm with you too, guys. Like I'm feeling it too. You guys are not, we're all feeling the same energy. It's just a matter of how soon you're tuning into it. But whatever is being stated, whatever is getting revealed in the first part of the week, some of us are initially going to be met with hesitancy. Some of us are initially going to question what we thought we knew. And it is going to create a cloud of hesitation, doubt, and confusion. Why do I say that? Because Neptune is starting to build its square with the sun, but this won't go exact for a few days. Not only that, Venus and Mercury, they're in conjunction to Pluto, is not exact yet. Mercury's will go exact in the evening time. So I want to get this to about 10:15. 10:15 is when it's exact. So 10:30, close enough. Mercury, 1 degree, 39 minutes. Pluto, 1 degree, 38 minutes. It's close. So we know there's some type of information, there's something going on, there's something that's being said that either we don't agree with, we don't believe, we don't know, but it's likely going to be coming through, or we don't initially know how to accept. Like there's a hesitancy, there's a resistance. And with Neptune square with the sun, it's creating confusion, it's creating a fog, it's slowing us down. We're not going to all know how to immediately react to what we're hearing. Moving along. We're going to get into the 18th finally. I know I said it's going to be long. Did I do that? Okay, sorry. The 18th is a carryover from Monday, 100%. Now, Venus and Mercury are still in their conjunction. The first thing that's going to happen is around 9 a.m. So I'm going to get this to 9:30. This is when Venus will go through her exact in conjunction to Pluto. In our minds, the night before, Mercury in conjunct Pluto is like whatever information is going to be there, whatever is being said, whatever our thought process is, we're not believing it. We're not seeing eye to eye. We're not there. But I feel like whatever Venus and Mercury are doing together, it's like they're teaming up. So not only do you physically go into a place, but you have your presentation, you have your plan, you have something that's tangible in support. So I feel like Venus and Mercury are in the better position right now. They're stronger right now, knowing how they can take something forward, how they can handle something. The proof is in the pudding. The facts are there. The spreadsheets are right. The plans are here. The money is clear. Something is real. It's tangible. If it was only one planet, I think that we would just all be getting hit with brick walls. But I feel like whatever is there is supported. And therefore, it's not something that can be ignored. Okay. Oh, this goes the most exact again around 9 o'clock in the morning. This is very likely a carryover from whatever has been going on from the weekend and Monday going into Tuesday, whatever is going on between Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I do in my heart of hearts feel like it's the next round, the next layer of some kind of feedback or acknowledgement that goes back to whatever happened in the Mars-Pluto square. And again, the Mars-Pluto square was exact on June 11th. Moving along. We get into a little bit later. Between 2 and 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon in Scorpio is going to hit the trine to Saturn. We've got some kind of new information. We've seen something. We know something. We know it about Pluto and or we know it about Mars because the moon is in Mars and Pluto's sign. And now we need to present, express, inform an authority figure. Water to water, a lot of water things going on. A lot of emotional reactions can be going on. A lot of emotional understandings can be going on. A lot of emotional lessons can be going on. A lot of healing lessons can be going on. There's a lot of energy here that speaks to these new raw emotions, this new raw feeling, negative or positive, this new feeling. You go into somewhere, you've met someone, we've talked about something, and that newness that's here, that new thing that we've learned, that new thing that we've taken in, we're now bringing it to someone else. We're now expressing it to someone else in a lot of ways. For some people, whatever the moon's trine to Saturn is has absolutely nothing to do with everything else. And it's just that afternoon appointment with the boss. It's just that phone call to your mom. It's that phone call from an authority figure, from the lawyer, from the doctor's office, from the elder, mom checking in. Oh, hey, I just wanted to see, did you get that package I sent over the weekend? Did you guys have fun? What are you doing? But there's something here about that role, that responsibility. And we can also be talking about that recent hesitancy that we've started to feel. And we're talking to somebody else and they're like, oh, I've been feeling kind of weird about that too. I've not been feeling so great about that either. I haven't been on the same page with them for a while. And once you learn that from the other person, Moon trine Saturn, you're again getting that next round, that next layer of understanding. It's going to be different for everybody. That next layer of the lesson. Okay. Nothing else exact is going on to Tuesday. So again, a lot of Tuesday is carryover energy from what's been going on. I'm not going to keep going over that, and it's again creating a cloud of hesitancy, a cloud of confusion, a cloud of not knowing how to move forward. It is making us internally hit the brakes in a lot of different ways because Neptune is hitting this square to the sun. And as this perfects more and more into its 90-degree angle, Neptune is also slowing down. So whatever has inspired us to do something a certain way, the inspiration is starting to lessen. Whatever influence we had before, whatever story we had before, whatever truth we knew before, the more and more we're starting to learn and get this different understanding, the more we're starting to realize what we thought we knew is not quite that way. And that's if it's in the negative sense. If it's in the positive sense, as we're continuing throughout the week, is that you did have inspiration of how to do something in the positive sense. And what's going to happen next is like you're seeing how it manifests, you're seeing how it transforms, you're seeing how it's going from here and growing from here if it's positive. But it's like the slow birthing by watching it that way if it's positive. Okay. We're going to get into Wednesday. We're in Tuesday. We're going to get into Wednesday. We're going to get into the 19th. And the moon is going to be in Scorpio all night long between 1:30 and 3:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this right at 1:30 when it's starting. The moon in Scorpio is going to hit this opposition to Uranus. Late night unexpected call, late night unexpected email, late night exciting news, a late night surprise. Does not have to be negative, considering we have not had a whole lot of stuff regarding Uranus. I feel like this is something completely separate from everything else per se. Now, you could just be seeing that new thing that somebody else is doing and you just get excited for them. They're posting it on Facebook. This is what we're doing. We're on vacation. We're having so much fun. And you're seeing that thing that you didn't even know was going on, but it doesn't matter. A lot of times it doesn't matter if they're on vacation. Like, oh, well, that looks fun. I'm glad you got to meet Mickey. Congratulations. Like. Moon opposite Uranus. I don't feel like this one's going to be a heavy one. Now, as we get into the morning, between 10 a.m. and 12:30, this one I feel like we're going to feel a little bit lighter, longer. So this one is why I gave a little bit more time on it. The moon, still in Scorpio, is going to hit that trine. Trines are triangles, water to water, flow, understanding, to Neptune. Tell me again where you got this idea. Tell me again how you built this. Tell me again what you thought was going to happen. Tell me again what your side of the story was. Tell me again. Now, for some people, it's going to be positive because, again, we're seeing the effects of something coming through and we're just, what gave you this idea? How did you get here? If it's the positive. But in other ways, it's the negative. Tell me again why you thought this was okay. Tell me again your side of the story. Tell me again. While the moon is going through this trine with Neptune, it is also in conjunct the sun. And you're going to notice I'm saying all these in conjunctions for a reason. There's a lot of energy that it feels like certain things are coming to the surface this week. And it's a big part of that, like, hesitancy energy of what's like starting to pull apart. I want to understand one thing, moon trine Neptune, but the moon is in conjunct the sun, not seeing eye to eye. I want to hear what you have to say but I don't want you to know I've heard something else. I've seen something else. I know something else. Tell me again. How did this happen? Who you been talking to? When did y'all meet? What inspired you to do this? Where'd you get this idea? Where'd you get this money? Where'd you get this? And there's some element of this, you know, that you're not getting the whole fact. Or when you're starting to hear that story, you know, they're not telling you the whole truth. Some of us, it's just whenever they start to tell you, is like, you know what, that's great for you, baby. I don't even understand. Because again, it's Neptune's energy. It's like, wow, how did you know? You're intuitive. You're what? You dream things before they happen. What? What? Okay. Okay. You just manifested. I'm going with woo-woo stuff because it's Neptune. You just did. Oh, okay. Scratching your head type things. Okay. And you hear something that you just don't understand. You either know that they're only telling you a version of the truth. You know that they're only telling you one side of the story. You know that there's something here, but maybe you just don't even understand it. Maybe it doesn't have to be negative at all. It'll be like, wow, that sounds kind of crazy, but okay. I'm glad it worked. Water flow, moon to Neptune, trine. Well, I'm glad it worked. I'm not going to do it. That's great for you. But for some people, it's going to be trying to hear something again and knowing you're not getting the full truth, not getting the full story, not getting all the information. Okay. At 11:32 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to go into Sagittarius. Boom, hi. The moon is now in Jupiter's sign. Upon the moon going into Sagittarius, the moon is also going to hit a sextile to Pluto. Now that's going to happen between 1:30 and 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So right after lunch for a lot of us, the moon in Jupiter's sign. Jupiter is still newly in the sign of Gemini. There has been a shift in information, a shift in our knowledge. Mercury making that conjunction to Venus and everything else, a shift in what has come to light. The moon is going to sextile Pluto. This is what I know. This is what has been stated. This is what has been heard. The moon is hosting Mercury and Venus. Mercury is hosting Jupiter. Jupiter is now hosting the moon. There are layers. I know this. I know this. We can see this, can prove this. Dot, 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 connect, 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 connect. It's not a straight line, regretfully. There's a lot of pegs. There's layers. There's versions of the story. We need other people's dialogue. The moon sextile to Pluto can be an understanding. I understand where you're coming from. I understand why you feel this way. I understand that this bothers you. I understand that this was triggering for you. I understand that this was a change for you. I understand what happened. Since Pluto is retrograde, these two are moving towards each other. So there is an understanding. There is something that is reciprocal. And I do feel like once the moon goes into Sagittarius, that a lot of us are going to feel something change based off of the recent information, based off of the recent plans, based off of the recent travel, because the layered elements that include Mercury, based off of what has just occurred, we're seeing something differently and we have a better understanding. Okay. Moving this along. After the moon sextile to Pluto, it's going to be kind of chill throughout the rest of the afternoon. I like Wednesday's energy a lot better. Again, I like whenever the moon goes into Sag this time. And then we get into the evening time, the moon's going to hit the opposition to Jupiter. The moon is in Jupiter's undersign. I did not even say, I don't even know what I tried to say there. The moon is in Jupiter's sign. I understand. The moon is in conjunct Mercury while it's in this opposition to Jupiter. I don't want to believe the information. I don't understand all the details. I don't know what we can do about what has come through. There's something here that we, one, are coming from a place where we understand another person. The moon is in Jupiter's sign, but with the moon's in conjunction to Mercury, it's more along the lines of like, look, I understand where you're coming from, but given this detail, given this effect, given this part of the situation, I can't act upon it. I can't do anything. I don't have enough. I understand your position, but I don't have enough. For some of us, it's a teachable moment. It's asking Jupiter, can you teach me what I do not know? Because the moon is in conjunct Mercury. Can you teach me how to do this too? Can you teach me how to cook? Can you teach me how to change this? Can you teach me how to care for this? Can you teach me? I don't know what I don't know. Can you help me? And Jupiter, understanding that information is important and teaching is important. Jupiter is the teacher, it is the doctor, it is the guru. Of course, I can help you. Of course, I can teach you. Of course, I can tell you what you don't know. And there's this expansion of knowledge that can be embraced because we do need to expand knowledge. Now, Neptune is squaring the sun. It's not exact yet. It is still building. So even though we still got these things going on, some of Neptune square to the sun's energy, once we get to this part, can be inspiring. It can also be that final layer, final round of deception. I hate saying that. Neptune's energy can be very, very deceptive. It can also be like, you've lied to me for the last time. Now, if this is the case, it might not all happen on Wednesday. In some ways, it might even happen as we get into Thursday. So we're going to keep this going. Now we're going to get into the 20th. On the 20th, the moon is going to be in Sag all day long. I feel like Thursday is going to be very, very slow, very, very melancholic, very, very drawn out. I don't feel like this is going to be a fast day. As fast as June is, I don't feel like this day is going to be fast. Now, between 12:55 and 1:20 p.m. Central Standard Time, that is when Neptune is going to hit its exact square to the sun. So it's pretty close right here, 12:30. Neptune, 29 degrees, 53 minutes. Here's the sun, 29 degrees, 52 minutes. This exact square is going to be important because I do feel like this happening at that 29-degree mark. It goes back to whatever was going on in the weekend in some ways. Like, you had one version of events, you had one set of knowledge, you had one thing going on. And in a lot of ways, it's like you did something for the last time. You knew you had to get something wrapped up because something was getting prepared. And now we're to this next level of understanding it and getting prepared because we know we're going into something new. We have no other choice but to go into something new, but we're slow to do it. We're slow to take this responsibility. We're slow to make this change for whatever reason. Neptune slows us down in a lot of ways. So as much as we can get hit hard with things, whatever we're getting hit hard with in the first part of the week, it's like once they hit, they need time to sink in. And I feel like for a lot of people with Thursday, the sinking can either be something very healing in some ways, hopeful in some ways, because the moon's in Sag, but it can also be very confusing because it's Neptune. And do not be surprised if you're going through waves of confusion or you see other people just acting really confused and acting emotional, considering Mercury and Venus are now in Cancer. Both negative and positive ways that this can come through. Okay. At 3:51 p.m. Central Standard Time, so I'm going to bump this to 4:30, the sun is going to move into Cancer officially. We're at the start of something. We're at the start of a new season. We're at the start of a new focus. All of this week has been little details presenting itself as to where this new focus is going to be, where this new arena is going to be. Are we all starting something new at 3 and 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon on the 20th? No, we're not. Can we? Sure. Human effect? Realistically, no. But we can accept something. We can understand something differently. We can take something to a different level. And I feel like more people are going to feel that because the next day is going to be the full moon. And I think that's when the responsibilities shift as to what we've been slow to handle and slow to focus on and slow to talk about is going to come through. So, moving this along. Real late in the evening, between 10 and midnight, so get this 11:30, the moon is going to square Saturn. The moon is in Jupiter's sign. Saturn is in Jupiter's sign. But we are also about to go into our first Capricorn full moon. Something might not have went your way this week. Something might not have happened the way that you thought it was going to go. You might have some type of truth come through that you have not been willing to accept. And this right here can be this lesson and talk and consideration with the authority figure, with the elder. How are you going to handle this? I don't know yet. When are you going to handle this? Probably tomorrow, probably next week. I'm waiting to hear from someone. It could be a waiting to hear from someone. I'm waiting to know what to do next because, again, we're still in this dragging delay energy. Some of this could be about responsibility. Who's going to be responsible now? I don't know. Who's going to take care of this now? I don't know. Do I need to take care of this now? Maybe. That shift in responsibility. Do I need to start taking care of this again? Maybe. That role, that understanding with responsibility based off the new information that has been presented. We're going to get into Friday. Now, again, Friday is the first full moon in Capricorn. It's not going to happen immediately. The moon is actually going to be in Sag most of the day. We're going to get to the early morning. So we're just bumping this a few hours to right here. Okay. Mercury and Mars are going to hit a sextile. Mars has just disrupted some things tied to Venus. Venus and Mercury just had a conjunction. There was information. There was exchanges. There was support to the disruption. Mars is going to tell something disruptive, give some type of push, give some type of notice based off of what new things have come through this week, because the sun is now at that 0 degree mark where Venus and Mercury had their conjunction. Oh, this whole week is about shifts. This goes into that. Some type of argument, some type of tension, some type of aggression with Mars, potentially. If it is aggression, it's deep-seated stuff that we've been feeling for a while. In a lot of ways, it is giving some type of disruptive news or some type of disruptive decision. Maybe the night before, we didn't know what the answer was going to be. We didn't know what we were going to do next. We didn't know how we were going to handle something because we were waiting on the feedback from a whole extra person, a whole extra entity, and now we're getting that feedback. There can be a lot of things to still tied to some of the delays of the week. We didn't know what we didn't know. We didn't know how to handle everything because we didn't know everything quite yet. Mercury and Mars and their sextile. I don't normally get real heavy on these planetary sextiles, but this one feels really important given the starting energy of where we're at this week. So I feel like there is something about this disruption that will even feed into something later when Venus hits the sextile to Mars. So these are all very pivotal energies, even if they're small in the moment. So take note of these things. Like If there's a time and a week that we want to start our journaling, this is a great week to start doing it. Just journal what happened that day. Doesn't have to be these huge, dramatic things, but just journal it. Okay. Between 5 and 7 p.m. So I got this at 5:30. The moon is going to square Neptune. This is a push. Neptune is now starting to slow down. And over the next 2 weeks, Neptune is going to turn retrograde. So one belief, one inspiration, one way of thinking, one fallacy, one inspiration, one spiritual quest, one version of the story is going to get questioned. Mars square Neptune. And whatever comes through again is making something hesitate. It's making something freeze. Neptune is going to slow down. And in less than 2 weeks, we'll turn retrograde. I won't have to keep saying that part. Something that we've believed in some way, something that we thought was going to go one way, one version of events that we thought was going to go one way, we're starting to see is not going to work that way anymore. We're starting to see is not the truth. It's not the reality. It's not how it's going to go. We had one sunshine and rainbow situation in our head, but now that reality has set in, now that the physical effects of something has happened, it's not the same. Now that people are here, it's not the same. Now that we got to our destination, it's not the same. And what we previously did not know is starting to turn around. And that's going to be a continuous flow of energy over the next few weeks of the turning around. Take note of what you learned while the moon is in Sagittarius, because whenever the moon comes back to Sagittarius next month before the next full moon, you will see a difference in the value of knowledge that you have comparatively. Okay. Moving along. At 8:08, at 6:09, I jumped ahead. At 6:09, 2 hours before the 8:08, the moon is going to go into Capricorn at 8:08 p.m. The moon is going to hit the first full moon in Capricorn. This full moon, even though it's not by sign, it's still by degree squaring Neptune. Squares are 90-degree angles. This is 92 from the sun. It is 88 from the moon. So it is loosely still squaring Neptune. The recent inspiration, the recent effects, the recent lies has transitioned us into something new. This is a full moon in Capricorn, in Saturn sign. It is a timely change in respect, in authority, an adjustment in responsibilities, but I do not feel like all of the responsibility changes will happen in just one full moon. We will see elements of it from this full moon to the next full moon. So June 21st to July 21st. And then in the middle of this, Saturn is going to turn retrograde. This is a peak point in our transitional 7-week period. Okay. I'll do a separate video on the full moon. You guys know that. We're going to feel the moon's opposition to the sun the most between 7:30 and 9:30 p.m. It's exact at 8:08. No big deal on that one. We're going to keep it going. I've done a lot of like heaviness and weighted anyways. We're going to get into Saturday. We're going to get into the 22nd. Moon's going to be in Capricorn all day long. And we're going to get to the early morning. So between 4:30 and 6:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to hit this opposition to Venus. The responsibility about how something looks. Taking a long-term look at the view of something, the aesthetic of something, the appearance of something, how we make this adjustment moving forward, how we make this change moving forward, moon opposite Venus. But again, we have an in conjunction. When the moon hits the opposition to Venus, the moon is in conjunct Jupiter, not seeing eye to eye with Jupiter, not involved with Jupiter, not believing Jupiter, not understanding Jupiter. So there is this element of what responsibilities are changing. And I think it's interesting that it's in conjunct Jupiter, considering Saturn is in Jupiter's sign, and we just had a full moon in Saturn's sign. There is a role changing, there is faith changing, beliefs changing, information has changed this week. The perspective and the shift of something in new direction this week. Venus's opposition to the moon, care, consideration to another person in their role and their responsibility and what they're doing now and what they're having to take on and what they're having to face. I've never been in your position, but I understand you. I don't know this person, but I know this is hurting you. I don't know this person, but I know you. I believe you. I'm with you. I understand you. Venus in that element. Okay. Between 10:30 and 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to hit this trine to Mars, Earth to Earth. So here we go. Tangible, solid. The moon is going to be pushing Mars. There's an understanding of the disruption. There's an understanding of the chaos. There's an understanding of this shift in something that has been there for a long term, for the long elements. There's one level of responsibility with the moon being in Capricorn. The authority figure is making a decision based off of all of the things that have come through this week. But this might not have anything to do with the week. We're now going into Saturday. We can just be talking about the disruption, talking about what has occurred, getting it off your chest, voicing some things. We can be looking for a distraction, but this distraction needs to be physical. I've had a shitty week. I need to get it out of my system. I need a punching bag. I need to tear something up. I need to build something. I need to change something. I need to adjust something. I've said this to a couple of my clients recently with all the things that I've had going on is like, sometimes you get so angry, you want to just break things. I'm one of those people, if I don't break things, then I want to build. Because the physical act of something is helping me get the angst out of my body, out of my energy, but it's productive. For some people, productive is like, I need a day to veg out and I just want to do this with a controller. There's an understanding. We need to be productive. There's something productive about the moon's trine to Mars. Then it's still feeding off that full moon energy. Just to be clear. Okay. Oh, between 1:30 and 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to hit that opposition to Mercury. Experience versus emotions. Consideration versus role and responsibility. The moon's opposition to Mercury is wanting more information. Mercury is wanting to talk about something, talk through something, give me knowledge, give me an understanding. I need, I want, I desire. Mercury in Cancer can actually have a voice, a logical voice about how something has felt and impacted us. And the moon in Saturn's sign can be receptive to this information, to this conversation, taking in the words, taking in the lessons. And by taking this in, the moon is still loosely in that trine to Mars. By taking this in, we can also feel productive. Productive conversations, productive talks. Remember Mercury in Mars, they're still in a sextile. It's not as exact as what it was, but there can be very productive considerations as we go through Saturday. And Saturday's vibe might not have anything to do with the rest of the week. It might be how we're getting into something new. but we're still very much in that full moon energy. So it's going to be different for everybody. And I think as we get closer to it, we're going to understand it more. I love the fact that next weekend, or the weekend that I'm reading it for right now, is going to be far less intense than the weekend that we're coming out of, the one that I'm recording in. So like I'm recording on June 16th. I'm looking forward to next weekend because it's not nearly as much as, yeah. Anyways, as it's been. Moving along. We're going to get into Sunday. The moon's going to be in Capricorn most of the day. Now, between 3 and 5 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon in Saturn sign is going to make a sextile to Saturn. Role, responsibility, what has adjusted, what we are no longer supporting, what we are no longer believing, what we're no longer taking responsibility for, where we no longer will be doing something. Saturn is slowing down, pumping the brakes. We are now a week to Saturn turning retrograde. And we're going to really feel this next week of like pumping the brakes. And this can be about a conversation about where the brakes are going to get pumped. Something adjusted in that full moon. The moon's still in Capricorn. So something that's been adjusting in that full moon. And we go into Sunday knowing those brakes are getting pumped, that responsibility is coming there, that conversation is being had, that our role is shifting, that our role is changing, that our role is ending in some way, because Saturn will turn retrograde. Okay, moving this along. We're going to get to the afternoon. Between 1:30 and 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to trine Uranus. Unexpected things, unexpected news, unexpected calls, unexpected communication, unexpected feedback, unexpected considerations. The moon trine Uranus. Unexpected material, unexpected tools, unexpected considerations, unexpected respect, exciting consideration, exciting compliments, exciting feedback. It's tangible. That looks great. You did a great job. Can't believe that you knocked this out in one weekend. Yeah, buddy. That type of thing. Look at what I did. Can't believe you did that so fast. That type of thing. Doesn't have to be heavy. Don't feel like the Uranus transits are heavy this week. This is another one of them. Moving along, we get to the evening time between 9 and 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. The moon is going to hit the sextile to Neptune. I know that it was a lie. I know that wasn't real. I know something is different. And again, Neptune is also pumping the brakes. But Neptune's pumping the brakes do not feel like Saturn. Saturn's, we can feel it a lot more. We know if we've had someone in our life recently that has shown a different version of their skin, and you have felt that recoil. Ugh. I don't feel the same way. I don't believe this anymore. This isn't the way I thought things were going to go. This isn't the way I thought things were going to feel. This isn't what I want to do. This isn't what I want to believe. And I do feel like the moon sextile to Neptune can influence our minds overnight, and it can trigger some very interesting dreams. We can also talk about the effects of different things. We can talk about what's inspiring us now, if we're going more positively, or what we've recently learned and how we can make an adjustment. Okay, I can't do this way anymore. We need to make this change. We need to make this adjustment. And this change, this adjustment, it's a responsible adjustment because the moon is in Capricorn. And it can be a big part of what's going to be the transition of the next month until we get to the second full moon in Capricorn. These two are going to feed into one another. I promise you, they will. And at 10:15, I'm going to bump this an hour, moon's going to go into Aquarius. Now, the moon will hit the conjunction to Pluto, but that doesn't technically happen on Sunday, so I'm not going to get into that. That's going to be how we start Monday. There's enough to this week. I don't need to add anything extra. I had to add some extras because I don't usually get so heavy in those in conjunctions, but the thing is they were so dominant. Sometimes when I look at a chart, it's like I look at the exact, but then I see this other thing pop out and I start to pay attention. First thing I ever do when I look at a natal chart is I look at what planets start to pop out. Like, oh, okay, like note, 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 note. And I start to look at what their influence is and why they're so important right now. Things start to pop out. As much as we had those oppositions, we had those direct transits, we also had those in conjunctions, and each time they popped out. And a lot of those in conjunctions were between Jupiter, Pluto, or Mars. Jupiter is getting new information. Jupiter is expanding something. There's new talk. There's new things coming through. That Pluto-Mars square was very, very heavy last week. It was most exact on the 11th, but we felt it the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, the 13th. We needed to start the part of those transitions to make us aware of where our new focus is going to be. And I'm telling you, with all of those planets going into that cardinal sign, Cancer, the start of a new season, a new sign. And it is the sign that bridges us from the last eclipse season to the next. The nodes are in the cardinal signs. The south node is in Libra, the north node is in Aries. We are starting to bridge through Cancer season and through these Cancer transits into where new adjustments are going to be in the next eclipse season. And in the next eclipse season, the stronger of those will be the Libra eclipse, will be Venus's. So these conjunctions to Venus are important. They brought new things to light when the sun hit the conjunction to Venus a few weeks ago, June 4th, that new moon in Gemini, conjunct Venus on June 6th, those squares to Saturn, starting with Venus. We saw something or someone differently. Certain roles and responsibility are starting to adjust. And it is time for these adjustments. We could not have dealt with them sooner. We were not prepared to deal with them sooner. We had other shit going on before. And for some of us, what happened during that last eclipse season, specifically with that Mercury retrograde, is it altered some of our actions and reactions. It altered something. It pulled us away from something or someone. There was a necessary disruption then that has led to the events now, but at that time it was nothing. It felt so small and so minute. But again, the writing was on the wall. We just didn't know what we were looking at. We didn't understand the words. It's like looking at the crossword puzzle sometimes. You know there's words in there and you got to find them. We didn't see all the words yet. We didn't see all the writing yet. We didn't understand everything quite yet. But whatever did happen in that Mars-Pluto square also ties back to whatever was going on in the Mars-Pluto conjunction back in February. And it will also feed into what will be happening later this year in the Mars retrograde when Mars hits its multiple oppositions to Pluto. And that's going to be fourth quarter and first quarter of next year. It is time to bridge into new territory, into new information, into new things. And that bridging, as we continue, will also bring up even more old stuff. But that's not all going to happen this week. But we're bridging into something new. Gemini season, we expanded the new normal of one, but it is now taking us into something new, taking us into something different, making us aware of something new. And so much of this week speaks to the arrival of a new focus. The recent events brought us into this. The recent events made us aware of something. And in the moments, we will be meeting with hesitancy. In the moments, we know we're only getting one side of the story and not both sides because they're not both sitting in the same room arguing across the table. And sometimes you don't want that. A lot of this week will be about connecting dots, connecting truths, finding the reality, finding the other side. And it will be slow going each time. But by the end of the week, there will be a level of responsibility that we know we have to take. Full moons for a lot of people can be completions, but for other people, it's going to be level ups. I don't feel like this energy in the immediate is going to be a completion for everybody. And I don't even feel like it's going to be a level up for everybody. I feel like it is creating a big transition again in roles and responsibility. And some of us are ready for that. Others, not so much. How on alignment are you with the energy at play? Everybody's at different levels. Everybody's in different places. But I'm telling you, we go into new stuff this week. We arrive at new information this week. There is a new focus this week. That focus can be on us, what we have learned and how we're going to take it forward. That focus can be on another person and how we're going to handle a situation. That focus is going to be an unraveling of lies and deception and how we are going to move forward from here. The money is gone. They lied. They cheated. You don't want to believe it. A lot of us don't. We never want to think negatively of another person. But their time, their reason in our life, the season they came in for, is meant to come to a close. And I do feel like from this week to the second full moon in Capricorn, there are going to be a lot of closings that are going to start to come through in the next month, while just as much moving into new territory. The problem is the new territory that a lot of people are going to be moving into, they're not going to be prepared for it. Okay. I love and appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the new people that have been tuning in. Thank you for all the shares and everything else. I can't wait to hear from everybody. DM me with your questions. Always put something in the comments. It might take me a few days to respond, but I do try to respond as best as possible. Keep notes of what has just occurred, what's happening this week, because it's taking us into something else. And if you've been feeling this energy build up, I'm not surprised because I've been feeling it too. All right. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I will talk to you soon. Subscribe.